Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about 20 Minutes Till Dawn. About a year ago, a video game called Vampire Survivors came out, and although I have never played Vampire Survivors, I have seen footage and heard people talking about it, and its popularity skyrocketed for about a month. I know that people are still enjoying it to this day, and they are still coming out with new content for Vampire Survivors, but I feel like for about a month, all I heard people talk about was Vampire Survivors. Because of the rising popularity of that game, there have been a lot of spin-offs trying to obtain that same popularity while still adding their own flair. And I believe one of those games is 20 Minutes Till Dawn. I think 20 Minutes Till Dawn came out after Vampire Survivor, but I can't 100% be sure about that, so don't quote me on that. Anyway, I'm not sure what we're calling this genre of gameplay. I've heard it called Survivor-like, or I've also heard it called Bullet Heaven instead of Bullet Hell. But the idea of this genre is you are playing with a top-down perspective. You're a character that can move around and fire away at enemies, while a ton of enemies are slowly moving towards you. So these enemies are coming from all points and angles of the map, and you're just trying to fight your way through these hordes of enemies. Eventually, after you defeat enough of these enemies, you level up, and then you have a variety of options to choose from, whether you choose a new weapon or upgrade a current existing power. It's going to give you a couple different options. And I'm not exactly sure how Vampire Survivors does this, but in 20 Minutes Till Dawn, you can move around and then you can fire a basic weapon. And I don't think Vampire Survivors has a basic weapon that you can choose to fire. So in 20 Minutes Till Dawn, you're shooting these enemies and you are picking up these little orbs that they drop, and these little orbs are what gives you the experience to level up. So it's not just enough to kill these enemies, you have to eventually fight your way through these hordes of enemies back to the pool of all these little orbs that the enemies dropped in order to level up. It gives you 5 different options, and some of these things power up your basic shot. Other things give you just little magical abilities that you passively use. What kind of builds I really liked were the summoning builds. So I liked the idea of having a bunch of these little minions doing all the fighting for me, so I could focus on just navigating through these giant pools of enemies without getting hurt. Now, most of these enemies will not fire projectives, but some do, and so sometimes it got a little too chaotic where I was like, I can't focus on my little basic shooter. I just want an army of these little friends to do all the fighting for me, because when you are shooting, your movement is significantly slowed down, and then you would need to reload before you fire another clip of magazines. And so I'm like, I just want to focus on navigating around and moving, and I just like the idea of having this horde of allies fighting for me. So whenever it gave me the option to choose a summon, whether it is a little ghost that shoots at enemies, or magical scythe that spins around you, or spears, I would choose those summons and upgrade them as much as possible. There is one summon, and it's a dragon egg, and you want to get this pretty early in the game, because when you grab this dragon egg, it takes 3 minutes for it to hatch, and the idea is you have to last for 20 minutes before dawn, at least in the standard game mode. And so it's kind of like a risk reward, like a delayed gratification, where you pick this dragon egg but you don't get to use it until 3 minutes after the dragon egg hatches. And then there are also upgrades for this dragon as well, like, hey, every minute your dragon will gain additional attack power or attack speed. And so I liked the idea of really having a rougher early game in favor for having a really strong dragon by the end of the game. I would also choose a bunch of upgrades that boosted all of my summon attack bonus and attack speed. And there is some customization before you even go into the actual game, where you have a variety of choices between which character you choose, and these characters have passive effects. And I unlocked a character that spawned all these tentacles that would hit enemies, and those count as summons. And then you are also able to choose what kind of weapon you want to use. So I chose one that fired off these bats that would immediately hone in on enemies, and they also count counted as summons. So I'm just going all in on this summon idea and then really boosting my summons. And once I had a decent game plan going into these, I could generally beat the game round pretty easily without dying. In addition to this, it kind of works like a roguelite in that you can purchase permanent little bonuses that persist throughout every single game. So every time you play a round, you're going to gather up a currency, and obviously if you last until dawn, you're going to get a lot of that currency. And then it's almost like a skill tree that you're spending this currency on to unlock these little permanent bonuses. And so once I got a decent amount of those permanent unlocks, the game did start becoming fairly easy. When you first start playing this game and you don't have any of these unlocks and you're using the basic character, yeah, you're probably not gonna make it those 20 minutes until dawn, but it makes it significantly easier as you progress. Now, there are additional challenges if the game just becomes too easy to you. Basically, they're like different ranks, and so every time you beat the game, you will unlock a new rank. So the ranks may do little things like increases the health of bosses, or increases the health of the smaller enemies, or more small enemies will spawn. And so you're slowly improving your own character, but the game is also getting slowly more difficult. However, I feel like the amount of strength that I was gathering over each of these rounds didn't quite match the ramp up of difficulty the game had, where once I had a significant game plan going into this and I knew my play style, I would win every single time. Which, hey, that still feels good. It feels good to win every time. And it's not like it was a cakewalk or anything. I definitely still needed to be paying attention to avoid projectiles and make sure that I'm building my character correctly. There's also a couple different game modes, like there's a 10-minute round instead of a 20-minute round if you don't have that much time. I think there's also an endless mode, so you can just see how long you can survive for. There's a couple different maps that you can unlock as well that have different enemies and maybe like a different background just to mix things up. It really is that just one more round, because every time you beat a round, you just think, okay, I'm just going to play for 20 minutes, play around, and then I'll be done. But then you get all this currency, and then you get to purchase new characters or new weapons or upgrade these runes, which are the little permanent bonuses. And once you unlock those things, you're like, oh, now I want to try it with these bonuses or with this new character. And then you just keep playing over and over again. There's something so satisfying about building your character just perfectly where no enemy can go within a significant radius of you. And it's so satisfying to just see all of this stuff happening on the screen, and you're just, I mean, at least how I play, I'm just focusing on my character. I'm not necessarily looking at the enemies that are on the edges of the screen. I'm just letting all these passive effects happen to destroy all the enemies, and it's just like so many things happening on the screen. It's so satisfying that you're just eventually building your character to be a walking god that nobody could possibly touch. And I like that the color scheme in this game is black and white, and then everything that you need to be paying attention to, like enemy projectiles, are a pinkish color that really stand out, so you can clearly see the things that really matter and then the things that you don't need to pay attention to as much. It's almost like I try to get so many things happening on the screen at once that it's like I want to try and break the game because it can't handle too many things on the screen. And near the end of the game, it does get that point where things get so chaotic that it just freezes for just a split second, but it's satisfying because it's like, I'm making all of this stuff happen at once that even my computer can't quite handle this stuff. And I know that sounds weird because, like, obviously you would want your gaming system to be able to handle anything you throw at it, but it almost feels like you're creating such chaos that it's creating this effect. That being said, this is one of those games that I do prefer playing on a PC with a mouse and keyboard, just because in order to aim with this kind of top-down perspective, I feel like I aim a lot better using a mouse rather than an analog stick. Although it would be pretty fun playing this game on the go, like on the Switch, and you got 20 minutes for your lunch break or whatever, we'll knock out a round. But yeah, I feel like a mouse is a lot better for me just because I can aim a lot quicker that way. The music is pretty low-key, but that's okay. I actually ended up just turning off the music completely and still having the sound effects, but then I'd put on a podcast or a playlist and listen to that while I play, because it really lends itself to that kind of almost not quite passive gameplay, but you're just kind of zoning out listening to music while you're just destroying hordes of enemies. So this is one of those free games that I acquired. I believe this one was from Epic Games, and I really didn't have a lot of high expectations for it because, you know, the other ones that I played were fine, but as far as like free games, I probably wouldn't spend any money on it. This is the first free game that I've tried out that I've really gotten hooked to, and I probably would have spent at least $5 during this game because I just have so much fun playing it and creating my build and just ending up being so powerful. It's a really fun game, and now I totally get why the game Vampire Survivors took off, and I think I'm actually going to look into playing Vampire Survivors, because if that's the game that spawned this game, I want to see what that game has to offer too, because that has such a huge following. I think this genre is really something that I can sink my teeth into in the future. Overall, I'm going to give 20 Minutes Till Dawn a 4 out of 5, and I'm definitely not done playing it. It's one of those games where you're just sitting down, got 20 minutes to waste, yeah, let's play around, that'll be fun. I think if I was to add anything, a multiplayer mode would be really cool, but I'm not sure how we would go about balancing that. And also, I'm not sure if I could find anybody to actually play this game with me, so it's cool in concept at least. Well guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about 20 Minutes Till Dawn, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!